Vice Chair Stevens.
Here.
Mr. Fuller.
Here.
Mr. Carnifax.
Here.
Okay, that takes us to approval of the minutes. There's a few to approve. I think we made some changes to attendance and whatnot, but all that's done. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes for all of those meetings.
Second. Ms. Hutton.
Aye.
Chair Trivett.
Aye.
Vice Chair Stevens.
Aye.
Mr. Fuller.
Aye.
Mr. Carnifax.
I guess I'll say aye, except for I abstain on the September and October since I was not here at those meetings. So.
Okay. I think that catches us up, doesn't it, Dusty? So, excellent. Thank you. Board member announcements. Anybody have anything they'd like to announce?
Nothing.
All right. Moving on to reports then. Financial report. Ms. Dameron.
I'll draw your attention to the balance sheet. You'll note in the past we've had one escrow account. We now have a managed account where we did some investments to help mitigate the risk of interest rate decline, and I've broken it out between the liquid account, which is your typical SNAP account, and then the managed fund, and I also broke out an interest account there, and you can see so far to date we've earned $860,000 in interest. For the month, we have revenue of $152,000, all of that's interest income. And we expended $9.2 million, the majority of that, of course, for the sports complex. And so we see a decrease of a little over $9 million, about $9,100,000 in our fund balance. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? We talked about it quickly, but that change in the investment account, we did that at the advice of Davenport to limit our exposure to the lowering of interest rates. And of course, the downside of that is we can't gain if interest rates go up. We can always change the account if that were to become the trend, but that certainly doesn't appear it will be anytime soon. So it seemed like this was the prudent thing to do. Good. And we're only allowed to do that with a certain percentage of the assets, so we'll still be exposed to a degree despite that change. All right, thank you, Ms. Dameron. I appreciate that. Operator's report.
All right. Again, we're going to give a quick update of where we're progressing for FF&E and fixtures on the facility. We've got some operational updates. We have some really interesting sales and marketing updates, including the website development that is currently under process, and then a recommendation on the website.
John, I'm sorry, but just for the recording, can you say your name? And
I'm so sorry. John DeMaglio, Vice President of Operations for Kemper Sports.
Thank you.
I'll remember next time, I promise. Yeah. As we continue to work through the interior FF&E, we had been working with two firms. We've, somewhat narrowed it down to a singular firm in Ball Office. Todd has received a second revision and is working through details of specifications and actual kind of the finishes of the equipment. And then from a Kemper Sports perspective, we're looking at the event space package just to compare it to other vendors that we've had to ensure its functionality. But it would be our goal to come to a conclusion prior to the end of the month on the interiors for furnishings. With our feature gyms, we continue to work through with three different vendors, Waltopia, Adventure Solutions, and El Dorado. We've gone through a second round of revisions on the Adventure Gym spaces with a number of dialogue around what assets need to be in there and, kind of the look of those assets. We had another call yesterday to discuss what a finish looks like with Waltopia, so we're hopeful that by the end of the month we will have gone through the final exercise with these three groups and be able to recommend a vendor to proceed with where we can really narrow down the details and specifics of what's going to happen in the feature gyms. And then the final two pieces that we are looking to provide in the short term is the budgetary quotes for kitchen smallwares FF&E, which I will have by Friday, and then our sports equipment package, which we hope to have. We wanted to have it this week, but our vendor is still pricing a few pieces, so hopefully by next week, and then we'll take that out for comparative bid analysis, just so that we have an understanding with those purchases coming late 2025 or early 2026 when we're a little closer to being in the facility. As we go through our project plan, since last meeting, we've completed 4 tasks. We've begun to create local bank accounts in accordance with the funding process and our compliance with our contract. We have a note out to Barbara to have our next call so that we can set up a depository account and lock in the LOIs from LOI to contract and have deposits for the future events. We've developed a facility domain name that I'm going to share here in just a minute. And we've finalized the development of the facility waiver along with the use agreement that we've shared and is pending approval. We've had no incomplete tasks since the last meeting, but the pending tasks are branded development, website and social media launch, and then pre-opening marketing communications. And then our next milestones revolve around the logo and branding package, which we are looking to get a group of vested stakeholders in market that were a part of the naming process to review our logos and make a selection. Hiring our key staff roles, which I'll address in our operators report here in a second. And then introducing additional sales content to market outside of sports for alternative usage. Just an update on the general manager search. We've narrowed down our candidates list to 2 candidates. We've shared them with the committee and Robbie and team to take the next steps on the interviewing process. Our goal would be to have an offer out by the end of the month for our general manager. In that time, we've continued to publicize the roles of sales and marketing manager and sports manager for the location. We've had 25 qualified applicants for the sports manager and 24 qualified applicants for the sales and marketing manager. They've gone through an initial review with our team with the intent of our general manager being part of that hire and getting those timed correctly. It'd be our goal to have particularly the sales manager in place in February of 2025 and the sports manager potentially somewhere after that, depending on how the first 2 roles get filled. Sales update, the most fun one. So we've had 25 leads. We have 25 active leads. We've had 2 new leads since last month. Most being Big Shots Basketball, which is a fairly sizable basketball group that operates up and down the East Coast. They've committed to a number of dates via LOI. At this point, we have 25 dates committed and 5 dates committed via LOI in 2025 and 26 dates committed via LOI in 2027. Our next step will be taking those to a use agreement and a deposit collection once we refine some of the procedural pieces on the back end, which we're really excited about. Sales pacing is currently aligned with our planned timeline for the facility opening, and then we'll continue to change how we push to market as the construction timeline continues to get more and more clear. Excuse me. Finally, we've developed a website domain name for the facility. We have created the domain of gwsportsandeventcenter.com. We went through a number of different exercises to come to this domain. We landed on this one because based on available domain names, this one is simple, memorable, it's SEO friendly, and it's relevant to the key search queries that we've been going through from our social media optimization team. We've also secured additional domain names to protect around the facility, which is WilliamsburgSportsCenter.com, GreaterWilliamsburgSportsCenter.com, Greater WB SportsCenter.com, GWSportsAndEventCenter.com, Greater WSEC.com, and we are looking to purchase GW-SEC.com. Our initial objective was to procure GWSEC.com. However, that is currently unavailable, though based on a conversation we had, we are trying to peruse to see if there's a potential of us being able to acquire that. Finally, and I don't think I'm going to be able to actually click on the wireframe of the website, but we've developed the framework for the facility website. I'll be sharing that via email with everybody to get some feedback and critique from what is currently under development from a strategy and philosophy perspective. It's not going to be the whole content, but it'll be the overall look of where we want to take it so that as we get the content completed, we can get our website live sooner rather than later. That's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you, John. Any questions from the board?
Have we come up with like a color palette for facility?
That's
and
going to be
things
part
like
of the
that?
entirety of the branding exercise
Okay.
to go along with the logo. Currently, we have a color palette that's kind of derivative of the color palette of the facility construction concept. And when you look at the website, it'll have that kind of emote and feel. But the exercise to go along with the logo, it's the color palette, and that'll kind of round out the branding of the facility.
Can you back up to that final where you had the domain names? What was the reasoning with going with GW Sports and Events versus Williamsburg Sports Center as the?
It's a little bit shorter. The other thing is we've been taking this name to market as a whole when we've spoken to events rights holders. It's naturally starting to become nicknamed GW or the GW, which we started having local conversations that had brought that up, and then Morgan from Visit Williamsburg had heard that through conversations that she had as well. And then also when they went through the fancy algorithms and data analytics of how things go through a search engine, this was the one that was most relevant to the key terms.
It does seem long, even though with GW versus Greater Williamsburg Sports.com, so they all seem long, but.
Yeah, they all are a little longer than I think any of us would have liked to have kind of landed on. But once the full acronym was missing, I think finding an alternative was where we went. And then hopefully through our digital impressions, whether it be through social media and then our other avenues of promoting website traffic, the domain name becomes less important because it's very rare anymore that you're go to www.gwsportsandeventcenter.com. It's more, here's a Google search of sports,
Williamsburg Sports
Virginia,
Center.
Williamsburg Sports Center, and you click on a hyperlink.
Okay.
Is this last slide with that information available in our agenda package?
I think so.
Yeah, it was on.
When I printed yesterday, it didn't have the bottom stuff, so as long as it's there, I just want those web.
Yeah, the only thing that we were trying to do is I was hopeful that I'd be able to pull up the domain, the actual wireframe from here. I don't think we have the technology capabilities to do that. But
I think so. I think if you use the trackpad on the keyboard there.
Show me how? I'd love to.
While they're pulling that up,
How about that?
John and I had a conversation about this earlier this week. The
How about that?
GWSEC domain is owned by a corporation, a company that's not actually using it. They just bought it to secure it.
Yeah.
They're using something other than that. And so I just suggested maybe they should contact them and see if they're willing to let it go.
So here's a look at the
That's how
wireframe.
we're not a
How about
competitor.
that? Just use the mouse, right? I didn't even know that was there. So our keys right now are the key landing pages to be there. There is content associated, but it's not final content. We want to make sure we get a broad opinion. So you have a facility overview page. Which will show the general assets, the list of the different partners and vested interest members of this community, a tournament inquiry page. That'll allow us to not only obtain an inquiry, this allows us to track on the back end where that inquiry came from, other analytics associated with websites. There will be hotel partners located in the market. These are placeholders, so it's not this full or final list. An opportunity for folks who are interested in sponsorship opportunities at the facility. Not sure why those photos aren't loading, but there are photos there as well. So we look forward to sharing this with you, hearing your feedback. We can adjust from there and then continue to move forward.
One of the things I suggested when we reviewed this was that they add to one of the pages, I can't remember exactly where it was, it might have been the landing page, a list or sort of a scroll of booked tournaments. Not just an events page where you can see what's happening next at the facility, but a list of places that have committed to dates, because I think that would help in terms of generating interest.
And that's got a placeholder right here. The other thing that'll happen is those events become finalized. We'll have an up-to-date calendar so that people can see what's happening at the facility. So if there is interest for booking, and then additionally, when we add all the local programming that's going to take place, that'll be visible on our calendar on the website as well.
Do you find, like, for that event list, you might have a tournament that's, you know, only booked 6 of the basketball courts versus all 12, and do you indicate that somewhere on the page so people just don't think that that weekend's already booked? Because
yeah, there'll be a view on the calendar of what's spaces available versus what is been booked. It's the way that it looks. It'll show what is being utilized is probably the better way to put it.
Yeah, because sometimes, you know, you get something that's booked and committed, but it's not the whole facility, and you don't want to turn other people away that you could accommodate.
Yeah, agreed. It'd be our intention if we are getting tournament events that they're booking the full facility. That's kind of the way that our model is for the tournament side of things. When it comes to more local programming, and typically those other elements are in shorter booking windows where, you know, our ideal is we're communicating with them via the facility or face-to-face, because even our inquiry form is a general inquiry form.
So a lot of the tournaments that you already have almost committed, are they booking all of the gyms?
Correct, yeah.
So, and you see that being the norm versus?
Well, the way that we try to build out the package is they're to book the entirety of the space, because it's also very difficult to, if it's a half of a facility, you can do some other experiences, usually rental-based experiences, but to have 2 tournaments going on simultaneously is pretty challenging if they're going to be playing the same sport. Our druthers would be that they're buying the facility and they're filling the facility.
They're paying for all courts whether they use them or not.
Correct, but one of the things that we've done is we've created a scorecard that kind of outlines not just the number of courts that they're purchasing, but the number of attendees, number of participants. That gives a bigger picture of the overall impact to the community, not just the facility. And so when we're going through our bookings and as we're looking at things, that's part of the consideration. Now, are we going to book events that'll book the entirety facility but maybe use 8 of the 12 courts? Yes, that's going to be a reality of the situation, but they're paying us at the facility level for 100% utilization.
Any other questions? Great, thank you, John.
Cool. Thank you.
Next up is the construction report. Good thing Mark was here today.
No doubt. Good afternoon, everybody. Todd Walker with MVP, Construction Management Group for the Greater Williamsburg Sports and Event Center. This month, not a whole lot to update you on. They've been working on the same items for the most part. With a big building, a lot of tasks last a little longer. One of the things that we have started in earnest is the roof system on the pre-engineered building. Construction complete is around 23%. Again, ongoing with equipment steel is being installed. We are still doing underground rough-in the hub area. And then again, the roof system. One of the big starts is we're continuing the mezzanine conventional steel. So we're probably 30%, maybe 40% done with that, obviously with the weather and the holidays. But that is ongoing. Site work is holding true, about 20% done. Again, the mock-up wall's out there. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to drive by. It's a nice looking wall. Again, under slab rough-in is ongoing. Meetings, we do have our regularly scheduled bi-weekly meetings with the ownership group and the contractor. Our next one is the 16th. Additional meetings we have with Kemper, the operator. Those are weekly. We'll probably move those. We've gotten through a lot of the tasks that we need to, FF&E, feature gyms, the AV, all the necessary things that they'll need to operate the space. The big ones anyway are coming to an end. So we'll probably move that to every 2 weeks or as needed. One of the big ones is we do need to work on the additional signage for the inside of the building. The contractor's pushing us a little bit for that. They do a really nice job of pushing us for answers. It's probably why we're on track with that team. Feature gym discussions are ongoing. And then again, working with Kemper this quarter for all small wares for the kitchen. It's kind of the last big one, and sports equipment that we need to purchase for the facility. We're continuing the design submittal reviews. Again, John spoke a little bit about the FF&E. Again, we've gotten one price in and one presentation from one vendor. We did engage another. We anticipate, as John said, by the end of this month, we should see that budget number or that number come in and a final presentation for that. One of the last items infrastructure-wise that we're waiting on as an owner vendor is from Data Cable. They'll pull all our Cat 6 wire and everything we need for the inside of the building. With the holidays and then some illnesses, we were supposed to have that for this meeting today, but we do not. So we anticipate that by next meeting. And then we're waiting on a quote from Vicom, who's actually our AV vendor for all the wireless access. So the only other thing, big announcement outside of that, is everybody should get an invitation to a topping out ceremony. This is a big deal in construction. You guys all know that. It's the last piece of steel we're going to be putting up on that building. That'll be the 29th, so you guys should all get an invitation for that. I think it's from 11 to 1 o'clock. So. Any questions about what I've gone over? No? So I do have a less polished presentation. I have some pictures of the construction out there. We kind of threw this together, and it will get a little more refined as we go. But you can see the building is coming along. These guys are not slowing down, rain, sleet, snow. They just keep rolling along. They only asked for one delay, too, with all that snow. So they've had guys out there working pretty steady. You can see up front here, this is kind of the entrance to the hub space, and then you can see our conventional steel heading from east to west on the south side of the building. They are steadily working on that. Feature gym space, you can see that will all be glass up front. It's going to be a really nice look as you're walking up to that building. And we're working really hard to make what we put in that space kind of a wow factor. Walking up, whatever kids are not going to be in tournaments, they're going to be begging their parents to get in there. So this steel that you see spanning across, that's all our equipment steel. This is obviously on the east end of the building. You see the elevator tower there in front of you. They have run all that. That equipment steel will be, I understand, done this week. So we'll have all our equipment steel up. And then, of course, just a closer picture of the mezzanine steel. Any questions about those?
It's really shaping up.
It's very nice. Yeah, guys on the roof this week, and John even made the comment that, I mean, it's cold up there, but there were 6 of them, so you know we're getting that done. So, any other questions? Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. All right, legal report.
Not much to report. We've been working on a number of contracts, and I think later on you have on your agenda a contract for audiovisual that I think Mark is going to send us that. We'll review that as well, and I guess it'll be subject to our review, but.
Yeah, legal sufficiency, right?
I like that.
Okay, great. That takes us, any questions for legal, I'm sorry. All right, that takes us to open forum. If any member of the audience would like to address the board, step forward to the microphone, say your name and address, keep your comments to 5 minutes, and again, just address the board. I don't see anybody. So we'll move on. We don't have any items for closed sessions or public sessions, so or public hearings. We'll move on to new business, and the first item is nomination and election of officers. Dan, I wanted to ask, can we take these all at the same time, or do we need to do them individually?
I think you can do it all in one slate.
Okay. So, discussion of the board.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I think we've talked sort of individually. I think our slate of officers as is, with you as the chair, myself as vice chair, and Brian as our treasurer or secretary, is certainly a motion I would make and open to discussion beyond that.
Second?
I agree as well.
I like the simplicity of that. Dusty, call the roll, please.
Sutton.
Aye.
Chair Trivett.
Aye.
Vice Chair Stevens.
Aye.
Mr. Fuller.
Aye.
Mr. Carnifex.
Aye.
All right, well, thanks, everybody. That was easy.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, very exciting. Another year. All right, that takes us to our only item really for action, which is consideration and authorization for the chair to execute a contract for audiovisual services at the Greater Williamsburg Sports and Events Center. And I believe Mark is going to report on that.
I am. Good afternoon, Mr. Trivett, members of the authority. My name is Mark Barham. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Chief Information Officer for the city, and I'll be making this presentation. So the Greater Williamsburg Sports and Events Center, as you all know, currently under construction, has been designed to include many technological upgrades. This contract allows for the purchase and installation of all of the audio-visual systems to enhance the overall operation of the new facility. Primarily, this is audio and video distribution throughout the facility. Additionally, this audio system is going to be zoned out, so you'll be able to, or the operator will then be able to make announcements to the entire facility or to individual zones within the facility. In addition, there's about 26 or so television monitors throughout the facility to help with messaging, as well as use by staff and the community that rents these spaces. All of this work was performed in consultation with Steve Ryan from Kemper Sports. So the project was designed by Vicom. They're out of Virginia Beach. The city uses them quite frequently, priced using the Vast Cup cooperative contract. While it is a budgeted expense, HTRFA authorization is required because the price exceeds $100,000. So the staff recommendation is that the HTRFA authorize the chair to enter into a purchase agreement with Vicom for the audiovisual system for the Greater Williamsburg Sports and Events Center, not to exceed $632,334.59. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any cameras for?
Not in this part of it.
Not in this
There will
part.
be cameras as part of a different one. As Todd mentioned earlier, we're waiting on contracts for the wired network, the wireless networks, as well as the cabling for all of that. There will be there's another one coming that has the audio or the camera piece of that as well.
Only question I have, compared to our budget expense, is this in line with that?
Yes, this is all.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take just a minute and say kudos to Mark and to Todd because they've done a really good job of negotiating contracts so far, and many of the contracts that they've worked on have come in under the budget that we had,
Right.
including the allowances in the contract with the general contractor.
Great. Good job.
Thank you, Mark.
So I think on this one, the motion, if the motion is to approve, needs to be contingent upon review by legal.
I will make a motion that we approve this with advice of legal.
Second?
Ms. Hutton.
Aye.
Chair Trivett.
Aye.
Vice Chair Stevens.
Aye.
Mr. Fuller.
Aye.
Mr. Carnifex.
Aye.
All right, so I did misstate. There's a backside to the agenda. So there's another item of consideration. Consideration of action on a proposed updated policy on electronic participation in meetings from remote locations. Dan is going to present this. Go ahead, Dan.
Sure. I'll be very quick. You just did this in November. We have this on the agenda simply as housekeeping to make sure that annually we do this because it's required to be approved to policy annually under the new FOIA legislation. So unless you want me to explain again what you approved in November, this is what it's about.
The idea here is that this would just become part of our organizational meeting every year.
And if you'd like, Mr. Chairman, I can put together, maybe go through the bylaws, make some changes, and put that sort of thing in our bylaws. So
That's a
we
good
have
idea.
Remember, and so this is how it's going to go.
That's a good idea, I think. Certainly. Any questions? Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Brian.
Keep this meeting going here.
That's right. Is there a second?
Second.
Sutton.
Aye.
Chair Trivett.
Aye.
Vice Chair Stevens.
Aye.
Mr. Fuller.
Aye.
Mr. Carnifex.
Aye.
I didn't realize the video participation was such a scary concept. Motion to approve it. All right, that takes us to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Third.
Ms. Hutton.
Aye.
Chair Trivett.
Aye.
Vice Chair Stevens.
Aye.
Fuller.
Aye.
Mr. Carnifex.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
All right.
Happy New Year.
You